Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Discover Tokyo. For all of our first-time viewers, some information for you. You can watch the live broadcast of this show on the fourth Friday of every month at 9:30 p.m. That's 9:30 p.m. Japan time. Please change to your own country's time. You can also watch subsequently older episodes or recordings on WALLOP's YouTube page. You can watch the live broadcast on wallop.tv. So, who am I? My name is Micah Lewis, and I've been living in Tokyo for about 2.5, almost 3 years now. And so, I've had a lot of fun, and I've had a lot of great experiences. And hopefully tonight I can show you and maybe share with you some of my experiences, so that if you're interested in coming to Tokyo, you know the cool and pretty neat places to go. So, what exactly are we going to be doing on tonight's episode, or what exactly are we going to be talking about? Our first topic, as I'm sure you've all noticed, it's no longer 2015 anymore. So I'd like to first say Happy New Year. And hopefully you had a good time ringing in the new year. Maybe you had a party with your friends or something else. But have you wondered what it's like in Japan? So I'll be the first to tell you that it's certainly a very different experience. And so today, first we'll talk about the kind of culture that Japan sees around the holiday season as far as New Year's goes. And also maybe some of the activities that you can do on New Year's Day or the New Year's holiday in Japan, especially in Tokyo. And after that, we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about some of the high places in Tokyo. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but so I want to talk about some of the tall places in Tokyo that you can see. So this month's theme is kind of the high points in Tokyo. And so I'll show you 3 places that maybe you've never heard of. And maybe I can give you some sneak peeks about what they're like, maybe some of the views you can see there, and maybe some hints or some tips so that you don't have to wait to actually get in there, because those places are pretty busy. So again, we'll be talking about the New Year season in Japan, what the Japanese people's mindset is, what it's like, the activities they do, and also the high places in Tokyo. So stick around for our first segment about New Year's after this short commercial. So, welcome back and thanks for sticking with us here at Discover Tokyo. Again, our first topic for this evening, we'll be talking about the New Year's holiday in Japan. So, before we get into that, I have a couple of questions for you out there. So, what did you do for New Year's? Did you have a big party? Did you spend it with your friends? Did you go drinking? Did you have a good time? So, I'm pretty sure that most of the answers that you gave me are either yes and or blackout drunk. And so I'm sure that you're wondering now, is that the same in Tokyo or Japan? Do they celebrate New Year's like that? And again, like I said before, it's definitely a very different holiday than in the Western world. So I think that in the West, we see New Year's as a kind of, you want to end the year with a big bang. You want to start the year on a really good note, on a high note. So it's usually about celebrating with your friends, having a big party. In Japan, it's a very quiet holiday. It's time for people to go home. They spend time with their family, maybe watch a little bit of TV. It's a very reflective time of year. And for some people, in some families, it's kind of spiritual time of year. And even that's not popular in Japan, but the kind of spiritual aspects of New Year's kind of creep up on everyone. But so actually a lot of work is done before the New Year actually comes that kind of ingrains itself into the Japanese culture. So the first thing that they do, and the first thing that's really important for most people, is the actual cleaning of your home. And so I don't mean take all of your things in your room and kind of push them in your closet and then close the door and say, oh, look, it's clean. They do this huge cleaning. It's very reminiscent of spring cleaning in America or other Western countries. And so there are 2 reasons for this. The first reason is that there's, like in America, you want a fresh start during the new year. So, you think if you want a fresh start, you have to first maybe get rid of all the things from the last year, the old things, and You want a fresh home for the new year. The second reason is more of a spiritual reason. So there's a kind of belief that in the beginning of the year, spirits will come and visit the homes of people. And you don't want to be that guy or that girl who, the spirits come visit your home and it's a mess. And so you want them to come to your home. It's a clean environment. And so they bless you instead of curse you for the new year. Everyone wants that good luck at the beginning of the year, right? But in addition to that, so after the big cleaning is done for the home, a lot of time and effort are devoted to shopping for New Year's foods and also, preparing the foods for the new year. And so the reason that they do all the shopping before the new year is because in Japan, it's said that you shouldn't cook in your home for the first 3 days. So that means you have a lot of cooking to do before then to prepare. And so people typically make these kind of bento-shaped meals. It's kind of this huge box, and there are small compartments in each box. And in the compartments are some small dish, and each of the dishes in this food, which is called osechi, is each dish, like I said, has a small meaning for the new year, some sort of wealth or some sort of happiness or some sort of luck. And a lot of them are based on some kind of wordplay in Japanese, so they don't really make sense in English. To kind of give you an idea of what exactly I'm talking about, I believe that boiled shrimp is a sign of wealth for the new year. So hopefully you can get more money or you can get a raise at your job. And so they do all this cooking before the new year so that they can eat osechi during the new year. And there's one other aspect about food that I haven't gotten exactly a straight answer to, but I know a little bit about, and that's at the end of the year, you want to eat soba as your last meal. And so far as I can figure out, the only reason I know that they do that, for your last meal of the year, is because soba is a food. It's kind of noodle, kind of like ramen, but a little bit different. But soba is said to give you energy. A lot of people eat it during the summer to get energy when it's really hot outside and they're tired. They say you eat soba at the end of the year so that you have energy to stay up until midnight. And so I don't know how believable that is, but that's what I've been told, so I'm inclined to believe it. So yeah, that's a lot about the culture of Japan. You go home and you do all this cleaning, you do all this cooking, and so you quietly start the new year. So what exactly can you do, once the new year comes? What activities are there to do? So at least for Tokyo or most of the places in Japan, TV has become a really big part of that. So during the New Year's Eve and also during New Year's Day, there are a lot of special TV programs that television stations put on. And they range from, I believe, at one point there was a kind of fighting tournament called the K1 Grand Prix. There's a really, really good comedy show that I haven't found the name for yet, but every year I watch it, I just love it. It's hilarious. And also there is a really cool singing competition, kind of like a American Idol style, where two groups of boys and girls, they kind of compete with each other in singing. And, unfortunately, I have to say that this was the first year that the boys lost against the girls. I think the past 4 or 5 years they've won straight, but this time the girls took them. But anyway, yeah, so that's the kind of TV aspect of the kind of quiet thing that you do to kind of usher in the new year. And another really cool thing, once the new year has actually come, is go to see the first sunrise. So if you want to take a look at the picture that I have here for you, this is a picture of the actual sunrise. It's unfortunately not from Tokyo, but it's very close. During New Year's, I had a chance to go down to near Yokohama, which is very close to Tokyo, a little bit south. And I got to watch the first sunrise. And so this is a really, really popular thing to do in Japan. You can see all the people in front of me, and there are people who go to different places, maybe in Chiba, some places near the bay in Tokyo to see these. And so I was really lucky because I found a nice cafe that was open around 3 or 4 in the morning before the sunrise came up. And so I know this show is called Discover Tokyo, but if you ever find yourself in Yokohama, there's a really great cafe called Zonohana. I really recommend you check them out. But don't tell anyone I told you that. Anyway, So the next thing that you can do, that you should do on the new year, in the new year, is visit a temple. So I've got a few photos from the temples here. If you want to take a look at the first one, before you go into the temple, it's a good idea to kind of either drink water or to clean your hands with water. The idea is that cleaning your hands kind of cleanses the body, and drinking the water kind of cleanses the spirit or the soul. So you'll see a lot of people here drinking from the water there. I promise it's a very sanitary and very safe thing, so don't worry about that. If you want to take a look at our next picture, now this is rare because this is called the Meiji Shrine that's in, I believe, Harajuku. It's between two stations. I believe it's Harajuku. But they actually don't allow photography in here except on New Year's. And so for the first 3 days of the year, tons and tons of people come, and they all go to the temple or the shrine to pray for, good fortune in the new year, or maybe for love or for money or for wealth or for children or happiness or whatever. And so you go to the temple, you literally throw some coins at the temple, and then you do a short prayer. And then after that, you kind of leave the temple. But before you leave, what you can do is you can get a fortune, or you can do some sort of fortune-related activities. What I mean is, I'll show you in the next picture here. So this is an area where people can take these slats of wood, and they can write down on them their dreams for the new year, and they can put them up. You can also buy a fortune for the new year to kind of test your luck against fate, so to speak. You can also buy a bunch of lucky charms that have very specific meanings for the new year. So that's kind of the situation or the activities that you can do. I really recommend visiting the temple within the first 3 days of the year, just because these are the times where you're supposed to go, the spirits are out, and this is kind of the most spiritual time of year as far as that's concerned. Don't tell anybody, but actually I went on the 4th day because staying in line for the first 3 days, maybe 2 years ago, I stood in line for 4 or 5 hours, and I can't recommend that to anybody. So if you can, maybe the 4th day is all right. But anyway, so that's kind of the New Year tradition in Japan. People think it's a very familial holiday. It's very quiet, not like the America or Europe's. But anyway, thanks for sticking around here. And next, let's take a look at the tall places in Tokyo. All right, well, welcome back, folks. And so, we just finished up talking about the New Year holiday in Japan. So now we're gonna switch gears for a second, and I want to tell you about some of the cool places that maybe you've never been to or never heard of in Tokyo. And so last month we talked about one of my favorite sushi spots, and if you ever do come to Tokyo, I really recommend it. This month we're going to talk about a place that's not so much about food, more about the amusement aspect. And so actually I don't have one, but I have 3 for you today. So today's theme is the tall places in Tokyo. And so I'm sure some of you out there don't know this, but Tokyo is actually the biggest city in the world. More than 13 million people, and maybe a cityscape that expands maybe farther than your eyes can see. And so it's sometimes difficult to kind of grasp exactly how big Tokyo is, because sometimes it feels very small. But if you check out these places, I'm sure that the view you get will definitely change your mind. So the first place that I want to talk about, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but it's been next to my office in Nishi Shinjuku for God knows how long. I never knew it until recently when I visited. So it's actually called the Shinjuku Government Building, or for Japanese people, we say Tocho. If you want to take a look at the picture that I have there, this place is huge. So this is from the ground, maybe the street level. And if you take a good picture of it or a good look at it, it looks like something out of a Batman movie, almost like a police station or something. You walk inside and there's guards everywhere. It seems kind of scary, but it's a really cool place. So if there's also a lot of people to help you. So if you get lost, they'll help you find your way because there's a lot of elevators for this place. But if you go to the top floor of Tocho, there's a very cool kind of relaxing environment there. It's kind of like a cafe slash kind of just check out the place slash gift shop sort of deal. But so for most people who don't know, this place is free, which is, if you're trying to visit Tokyo on a shoestring budget, this is my first place I recommend you to go. When you get to the top floor, there's a lot of cool stuff you can see. Really, really nice atmosphere. As far as I know, the times that I've been, it's not super crowded. It's not a very big space, which is nice also. It has a very get away from the hustle and bustle feel of the big city. If you want to take a look at the next picture here, you can kind of see the view out from the building. And so those are some of the shorter buildings. I think this is from the 47th or 57th floor. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's the 47th. And what you're seeing a little bit out in the distance is one of the parks in Shinjuku. And so you can see for God knows how long, and on a really clear day, you can see Mount Fuji in the distance, which is really nice. And so another thing there is the cafe. It's really relaxing. You can buy like a cup of tea or some coffee and just, chill for a couple of minutes. And if you like, you can also watch the sun go down there. And also for people who, speak zero Japanese, and even a lot of people staying in Japan do the same, there are lots of free English guides there. So people who've retired, maybe they want to volunteer their time, they go there and they kind of give small tours about what you can see in Tokyo. If you have questions, they'll be happy to answer them there. So a really friendly place, really quiet place. I really recommend it if you're on a shoestring budget. But let's take a look at our next place, which is a bit pricier. So we're going to talk about something you've probably seen, but you didn't know the name of it, or you just didn't realize it. But it looks like the Eiffel Tower, but it's called the Tokyo Tower. If you want to take a look at it right here. And this is from the ground level. You can just kind of reach out and touch it. But you'll notice first that it's very orange, right? I'm not sure why that is, but it's kind of the iconic color of the Tokyo Tower. And up until a few years ago, it used to be the tallest structure in Japan. But that's been taken over by our next place, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the Tokyo Tower it's kind of two levels. The first level is really cheap to go to. It's about 900 yen. And if you want to go to the second level, it's an additional 800 yen. But Tokyo Tower is probably one of my favorites because it's kind of popular, but not super crowded, which is nice. And it's in a really, really posh area, really, really high-class business area of Tokyo. So the view is immaculate. Actually, if you want to take a look here, I snapped a picture at almost the opportune time. This is right when the sun is going down in Tokyo and all of the lights are starting to come on. And so a thing that I love to do is go to the cafe inside of the Tokyo Tower and just relax there and kind of watch the lights come on in the evening. If I want to do a little bit of studying Japanese, I can do that. But it's a little more classy than the Nishi Shinjuku building. And I really recommend it if you want to spend a little bit, but you also want a nice view of Tokyo. And for people who are into this sort of thing, there's also a one-piece amusement center on the lower levels of the tower. So if you're into One Piece or anime, I really recommend coming to check that out. There's I think 2 or 3 floors devoted to it. And so you can go, there's a gift shop, there's an amusement center. There's just a ton of stuff to do if you're a One Piece fan. I think there's also a restaurant there for that, if you're into that sort of thing. And the final place that I want to look at is called Tokyo Skytree. So this is the one that you've probably never heard of. This is actually very new. It was recently built in Tokyo. I believe they finished construction in 2011, 2012. So within the past 5 years, it's come up. And so this is the new king of height in Tokyo. So I caught a really nice picture of it at night, and it just goes up forever. Actually, I did a little bit of research, and the exact height of the building is 634 meters. And if you don't know much about Japanese culture, that number has some significant meaning. If you look it up, Musashi, you'll find some pretty cool information on the internet, as well as the Tokyo Skytree website. But this place is definitely new. It's mega popular. The first 6 floors are just an expansive mall. And so you can do everything from shopping for clothes to food. There's a delicatessen area. You can find omiyage or other kinds of souvenirs to take back home. There's just a ton of stuff to do in here. And during the wintertime, even right now, there's an ice skating rink outside on, I think, on the 3rd floor. And so if you want to kind of do or have the whole experience of Tokyo in one place, this is certainly the place to do it. While the bottom 6 floors, anyone can go to, the higher floors, I think about 350 meters high, is the first level of the observation deck you can buy a ticket to. And I think after that, 475 or 450 meters high is kind of like the skywalk area. So you can't actually walk outside. That's just the name. Sorry. But this place is really cool. When you go to the top, the view is crazy. So you can see forever. It's taller than anything around it and taller than pretty much everything else in Tokyo. If you want to take a look at the next picture, it's also very state-of-the-art. So there are these long and wide panels that go across the kind of the bottom. And what you can do is, it shows the city first off. But what you can do is you can tap and it'll bring up this bubble that's like a magnifying glass. And you can look and see a larger picture of a certain part of the city. Using this thing, I was able to find where I live, which is pretty crazy because I thought I lived pretty far from here. And what's even cooler is the picture you're seeing now, there's a function to turn it to night mode. So the area around the circle is kind of daytime, and the area inside is what it looks like at night, which I thought was really, really awesome. But anyway, this place is, again, because it's new, it's maybe the most expensive of the bunch, about 2,000 to 2,800 yen. So if you can't do the conversions, that's about $20 to $28. But I have a tip for you. If you're a foreigner, and don't tell anyone I told you this, so the lines for Tokyo Skytree are notoriously long. But if you're a foreigner, there's a special international line where you can just go and you pay the fee for the ticket and you skip the 90-minute to 2-hour wait that you normally have to do as just kind of a normal citizen. And you go straight to the front of the line. And that just blew my mind. But again, if you're a foreigner or if you have foreign friends, I recommend you go with them to go to the top. There's no wait, and the worst wait is actually coming back down, which is maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But yeah, so this was maybe a very brief look at some of the tall places in Tokyo. We talked about the Nishi Shinjuku building. We talked about Tokyo Tower. We also talked about the newest and the tallest version of all of those buildings, which is Tokyo Skytree. So again, stay tuned for our Olympic Minute. All right, and welcome back, everyone. We're winding down here at Discover Tokyo, but we just finished talking about the higher places or the high points of Tokyo. We talked about the Shinjuku Government Building, the Tokyo Tower, and the newly built Tokyo Skytree. If you have a chance, please check them out. So, of course, as our ending segment, I want to talk about again the Olympics and our Olympic Minute. So. I'm going to keep my word from last time. I told you that there were 2 designs and they were still voting on them. Now I have the pictures to show you. I feel really bad because it seemed like the day after I recorded the first month's episode, they immediately released the designs. It was almost like they were waiting for me to finish. But if you want to take a look now, this was the design that was recently voted upon and approved by the Tokyo Sports Administration and also the Olympic Committee for the 2020 Olympics. So this is what you can expect the stadium to look like. What's really cool, it has this awesome blend of kind of metal, steel, and wood. So you can see a lot of the nature around it. It's kind of a throwback to kind of going back to your roots. Kind of has a natural feel to it. But that's kind of last month's old news. So I've got some more information for you that might sound a little bit more interesting, and you can kind of start to see a theme that's developing with the new Olympics. Recently, there's been a lot of huss and fuss about using recycled metals. What that means is people are thinking of taking the precious metals like gold and silver that are in iPhones or computers or some kind of cellular devices or kind of recycled devices and using them to create the metals. Now what that means is I'm gonna go sell my iPhone because now that I know there's gold in it. just joking. But so they're going to submit a plan to the actual Olympic Committee soon to make that a go-ahead, and they're also planning on using recycled materials in the new stadium design, which might sound a little bit scary, but I'm sure the Japanese will do a great job with. But so that's been our show for today. We talked about the New Year's culture in Japan and what it's like in the new year, and also we talked about the high points in Tokyo and the 3 places that you can visit if you're deciding to come. So stay tuned next month. So we've got a lot of great things coming up for February, and we've got a very particularly sweet show for you next time. Please look forward to that, guys. Thanks very much, and this is Micah Lewis signing out. Take care.